Hi, the date is the 29th of April 2026, and I've gotten myself into a bit of a situation where boundaries are going to come in really helpful. So, as I've been talking a lot about boundaries lately, I think this would be a good kind of topic. The position I'm in is there's a girl, and this is a situation where it's less about setting boundaries with other people and more about setting them with myself, because I'm living in quite close proximity to this person, and um, we talk a lot, but I'm starting to get really attached to how she meets my relational need of someone seeing my value and acknowledging it, and that's a really, it makes you feel special, but it started to have more influence over kind of my inner world than is good, and especially considering the fact that there's no potential for this to actually go anywhere. So it's time for boundaries to be put in place so that this doesn't lead to something that can cause a problem for either one of us. So first, the boundary isn't with her. The boundary is saying it with me. Because I've had weak boundaries in the past with her, I've kind of let her attention and her openness and how she acknowledges my value to take up a lot of space in my mind. Now, there's a part of me that doesn't want to set boundaries with her, or because of the set boundaries with that part of me that is making her the emotional center. There's a part of me that doesn't want to set those boundaries because the closeness and the emotional openness, it feels good, but since there's no way for it to lead anywhere, it will just end up hurting in the long run, and it's already started to suck. So I'm trying to catch it early and set those boundaries with myself now. And I'm not going to be forcing boundaries through discipline to kind of cut off that part of myself that really enjoys that. I'm kind of just going to admit to myself that I do want closeness and it does feel good to be seen, but I can't let my life revolve around those feelings, because I have a very loud inner voice that's always running, and when someone becomes very valuable and I start really enjoying that feeling she gives me, I start thinking about her 24/7. And that sounds romantic, but in my case it's really hard, especially when that can't go anywhere. So the first thing is I need to stop feeding that emotional intimacy. And I'm not talking about cutting her off or being cold or rude, because this isn't something that's about her, this is about me. So I pretty much just need to become less emotionally available, less involved in those moments that the connection is becoming bigger than it needs to be, and doing that in a respectful way. Hey, I gotta get some sleep, it's getting late, I got a big day tomorrow, or things like that. And then another thing is I need to stop using her reaction as feedback on my self-worth. When she sees my value, I can receive that, but I need to stop kind of expecting that, especially around the things that I do, because now it's okay, it sounds really crazy, but okay, I'm going to go to the gym today as a possibility for her to see that and acknowledge my worth about that, you know? And so that's that little voice in my head that I'm setting these boundaries because of that. And that's the other point, is I need to stop making decisions with her in the background. You know, when that voice in my head starts taking her into account, I need to remind myself this decision is for my life and not how she might see me. And I also need to stop looking for signs when I'm talking to her, like I do when um, I'm in a potential relationship with someone. You know, like not like analyzing their tone or their eye contact or little moments or vulnerability, like um, just being myself and letting things go as they should, because all those other things, those keep the emotional attachment alive, and that is what's becoming the problem. And I need to create other spaces where my value is seen. So friends, work, and even my own routines, I need to build those. And so if she's the only person making me feel valued, then I'll just keep going back to her again and again and again without actually solving that. And so kind of my next step is to just, it's not to do like some big gesture that she'll notice. It's to quietly pull back, especially around emotional intensity. You know, I can still be nice, I can still be normal, but I'm going to stop feeding that connection in that way, especially because, as I said, it's now really negatively affecting my life because it's starting to hurt as I can't stop thinking about it, but it's not a good can't stop thinking about because there's no potential there. So it's just kind of bumming me out. And I can see future problems coming up because of that. And I thought this would be good to talk about because I've been going over boundaries a lot. So the boundary isn't I can't like her. I got this I put some of my notes into the AI and it gave me this. The boundary is not I can't like her. The boundary is I can't build my life around the feeling of being liked by her. And I try to use AI as little as possible because I prefer authenticity, but this is a really good sentence that kind of sums it up. You know, the boundary isn't I can't like her because she's awesome, she's a cool person. The boundary is I can't build my life around the feeling of being liked by her, which goes back to the psychology. It's not about her, it's about me. It's about the psychology of my relational need being met. And I have to get that like if you don't get that met, you're going to find some way to get that met. So I need to find a way to get that met in a way that is not through one person, and especially someone in such a close environment, which it's easiest to get that met that way. And it's like going on your phone, you know, it's like right there and you want to do it so bad. And it's like you keep getting put in these positions where you can do that, but you just have to hold those boundaries because it's not worth it. But yeah, so it's interesting how you set boundaries with other people and you also set boundaries with parts of yourself, especially once you start to understand your own psychology around things. But yeah, that's kind of all I wanted to cover off for this video. Yeah, that's the end of the video.